February 2nd, 2025. I slept all right, but I was super groggy this morning again. I had a really hard time, really unsuccessful time getting back to sleep. So I just kind of laid in bed until like noon. That was weird. I got up though, and I got my stuff ready, headed down for my shoot. It was a real basic little shoot for a friend. Filming a retirement. He was the film commissioner, the commissioner of his softball league for 20 years. Wow. So yeah, this will be his last season doing that. After that, I just came back and did more of my thing, did more stream designing work type stuff. And today I even remembered when I had a couple thoughts or unusual things to make note of them. And then I also took the opportunity to actually write about it in my blog before doing this, so that maybe I have something to talk about, maybe something a little more interesting. So probably I'll start with two elements today. One, my first, I guess, would be of a more serious, thoughtful nature. The second one, I'll let you decide what that is. Is groupthink always bad? When you know, defining groupthink a little bit, it's maybe the easy reference that I think of in internet land would just be calling it an echo chamber, a thing where people can put out their ideas, but specifically they're putting out ideas that kind of conform to existing ideas of a particular set of people. I think echo chamber is more commonly in the internet parlance referred to in the political realm. Excuse me. In the political realm, where I know my father fell victim to this, where you just tend to hear only the things that you agree with all the time, over and over, and it tends to reinforce ideas that support what you already believe and kind of reject everything else or anything that might be counter to or just different than those ideas. And I think of groupthink as sort of maybe a version of an echo chamber, but maybe it is something different. I haven't thought about that too deeply, about how they might be separated in that way. But I think my thought that I had might sound specifically political, but in relation to groupthink and the potential negative of it, it made me think of it as a potentially anti-progressive form of behavior. And progressive it could be anti-progressive politically, but I think anti-progressive in the exploratory or innovative sense. I guess unless the groupthink itself functions in that way, I didn't think of that before now. I mean, if the group is a group of inventors or problem solvers or innovators or students or seekers. I guess that kind of, I don't know what kind of group that is to think of it in that way, but it kind of, anyway, my thought was that when you have a group that gets really cohesive in their identity, the identity itself tends to resist change and maybe exclude progression or change. And I think that could be a dangerous thing. I think maybe some of the pluses for groupthink would be in a way, and maybe I'm thinking of this in a more abstract way, or maybe this is a poor comparison, but I think it's sort of like learning. Well, let me paint the thing I'm thinking about, and then I'll give the example. I think of a positive of groupthink as being the consistency and the exploration of nuance and maybe truer, greater understanding of a concept or ideal espoused by that group. And the parallel I kind of draw here is the way a person might learn a solo in a song in music, and rather than learning how to improvise over and over in a jazz-like way. And that would be that when you do learn a solo, note for note, and you really drive that in, the first kind of phase of learning the solo is putting the notes in order as they were written, as they were paced, and it's all set within a construct, the truth of that song as it exists. That's kind of your first phase, learning how all those things, those elements come one after the other to complete what that solo is. But there is another phase, maybe the next phase. I mean, part of that construction, I guess, is I'm maybe implying that there is repetition and rote playing of that solo so that you can learn it, so you can put the solo together and memorize it. So that's kind of phase one. Phase two is maybe similar to what I'm describing with the groupthink element. in that once you have kind of mastered the composition of the solo, you then are enabled to kind of explore the nuance of the solo, and you begin to kind of feel it in a different way, and it becomes contextualized differently in the way that you play it, in the environments that you play it in the audiences that you play to, and you feel it differently, and you learn new things about it, and the truth of it becomes opened up even greater somehow. It's kind of hard to describe, I guess, unless maybe you're in music and you understand what I'm describing very well. That would be maybe my purpose for using that analogy. And I think that could be a positive element of groupthink, in that you go through those two phases. If you are diligent, you come to understand the truth and the thinking of the group, come to know it well, and then you kind of can graduate to that second phase of really understanding the nuance, and how it applies, and how it reflects to the world around you in a little more clear way. So I can't be all down, can't be all bad. Groupthink isn't all bad. But I just tend to think my behavior as a person growing up, I was almost programmed by my parents and my family to kind of shun groupthink, and definitely it gets a bad rap in a lot of ways. And in general, I have to be kind of against it. I like progress, I guess. I like change and improving, but maybe what I'm learning is that I don't need to fear it or avoid it, because when a person embraces it in a certain way, maybe you can learn deeper elements of the truth you find within it. Anyway, maybe that was going a little off the deep end. Maybe it wasn't all entirely that clear. Maybe I'm still moving a little slow for the average viewer here. Anyway, my second thing that I wrote down today was that, and I've already fixed it, but somehow I didn't clip this nail the other day when I clipped my nails. Have you ever had that happen before? I don't think I've ever done that, where I clip my fingernails, something I do pretty regularly as an arm wrestler, and maybe 3 days ago, wasn't too long ago, I clipped the nails, all except the one I did not notice, and I didn't notice until today. How weird is that? What does this mean? Does this mean I don't pay attention to my hands? That's not likely. I don't know, kind of weird. It's not something that bothers me really. I found it comical almost. Discovering a nail I have not clipped. Very weird. That summarizes my day. Those are a couple thoughts I had, a couple things I felt like could be addressed in a more verbal way. And I don't know, maybe I did learn a little thing or two as I kind of talked it out. Something a little beyond the blog. Anyway, it's the beginning of a new week. I've got a lot going on this week. It's going to be very busy. I'm looking forward to it. And that would be all. All right. Thanks, y'all. Have a good night.